reality.
Right.
Again, this term is the term itself is relatively new to me, inner childhood trauma. This is a new term, but as we're speaking, it's always been around, whether we had terminology
Absolutely.
for it or not. But again, I'll say personally, in coming to discover this term, I've seen it, some other people talking about it on social media or whatever, and got a little more familiar with it. And the reality is, for the most part, me coming to term with the actual term was realizing, wow, one, I never heard of the term, which also means in most cases, I lack awareness of even being able to identify it, one, as an issue. And then when I came to know of the term and understand it a little better, I become more afraid. I become more afraid because whereas our culture has been to, quote unquote, thug it out, now learning about the term means I actually got to go deal with this. I ain't supposed to thug it out. I'm supposed to be tough despite these, and let's bring it all the way up to today, because as you said, even though it is generational, we are currently still inflicting these emotional wounds due to passed on, if you will, values or beliefs that actually add to this. So taking it away from way back way back when and bringing it up to now, I've had my own experiences that now that I've learned the term, I'm supposed to deal with it. That's scary in itself.
Well, yeah, it is scary, but I was a part of a group back in 2000. It was a black male psychological group, and we had mental health groups for the most part, and we had phone calls, conference calls back then. And one of the things that one of the brothers on the line, he was a psychologist, said is the best way to get rid of ghosts in your life is to turn them into friends and escort them out of your life. And sometimes we don't want to deal with the toxicity of our parents and of the households that we grew up in because we are afraid that we are attacking individuals from the hurt and harm, and we're not supposed to talk about that because now we're adults and we moved on with our lives. When in actuality, the toxicity of a childhood environment affects that adult until they address it or until they die. So they then there's so many people within our community who are inflicting so much harm on our community from inner childhood wounds that they haven't addressed themselves, which they've accepted as normalcy, as opposed to that's not normal. We have to deal with that. And one of the things, Montoya, that you're talking about as far as you learning this new term is now what you have to deal with is the triggers, the things that trigger you to make you think about, oh, this could be connected to those things that were said or done to me as a child. Oh, when the teacher says, you may want to study sports because you'll never be a scientist or a doctor, or maybe you want to focus on doing art or sewing because you can never be a judge or one of the significant roles that are prominent in our community, is that our school environments, our home environments, our neighborhood, our childhood friends, the toxicity of the homes that they grew up in and how they inflicted on their childhood friends shows up in adulthood. And sometimes we just ignore it and say, okay, this is the new normal, that's just Montoya, as opposed to, no, let's look at post-traumatic slavery syndrome and how it's affecting our culture from going forward and being healthy. Because some of the death issues and disease issues that we're dealing with as people of African descent is coming directly from an era called slavery and post-slavery. And so we don't have to die as early as we die. We don't have to deal with some of the issues that we deal with if we brave it out, and not thug it out, but if we brave it out to confront our inner childhood demons, figure out how do we get them under control.